As a kid, I grew up on baseball. I had a baseball glove I would not allow my brothers to use, let alone touch. I remember listening on my transistor radio, hoping I could pick up the call of George Kell and Larry Osterman of the Detroit Tigers. Baseball wasn't a hobby in my house growing up. It was one of the soundtracks of the 1970s. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd rising up like a wave. I can recall the thrill of going to a game in 1970 with my Little League team to Cleveland. The bright colors of the uniforms, the smell of the popcorn and cut grass. The vendors selling hot dogs in the stands. My name is Brian Smith, and today I'm doing something I have wanted to do for a very long time. For more than 60 years now, I have watched, studied, researched, argued about, and quietly relived the greatest moments of the World Series. Some I saw live on TV, sitting on the edge of a couch cushion like it might launch me into orbit. Some I only know secondhand, through grainy film or the words of sports writers who can make a double play sound like scripture. Today I'm bringing it all together in one place. The greatest individual performances, the most unforgettable series, and finally, the countdown, my personal top 10 greatest World Series games of all time. Now, I'll warn you, this is my list, my study, my 60 years of stubborn opinions. And if you find yourself hollering at your speaker because you think my choices are biased or outrageous, well, that's good. That means you're a baseball fan. And you are paying attention. That's the whole beautiful, ridiculous point of this podcast. It's an argument that never actually ends. It just takes intermission. So let's begin. Before we climb to the mountaintop, I want to take you through the foothills because some of these performances are so good, leaving them off my top 10 felt almost illegal. David Freese, 2011, the man who would not let St. Louis lose. St. Louis was down to their last strike twice in the 2011 World Series. Like the baseball gods wanted to make absolutely sure everyone was paying attention before they let St. Louis off the hook. Freese delivered the triple that ties it. Then, because subtlety was never really his style that October, the walk-off homer that turned Busch Stadium into pandemonium. If Clutch had a mailing address, it belonged to David Freese for about 6 hours in October 2011. Madison Bumgarner, 2014, the giant of all giants. 5 innings of relief in Game 7 on 2 days rest. A 0.25 ERA for the entire series, a number so small Bumgarner didn't just pitch that October. He showed up to the Royals' house, sat down uninvited, and refused to leave until the trophy came home with him. George Springer, 2017, the spark plug. Homers, doubles, leadoff fireworks. Springer was less a baseball player that October and more a lit fuse that Houston kept relighting every single night. Bill Mazeroski, 1960. The swing heard round the world. The only Game 7 walk-off homer in World Series history. Not one of the only. 60-plus years later, and nobody else has done it. Maz didn't just win a ball game. He wrote himself permanently into baseball folklore with one swing. Joe Carter, 1993. Touch 'em all, Joe. A Game 6 walk-off to win the whole thing. Only the second time in history that's ever happened. Pure, uncut electricity. Gene Tenace, 1972, the unlikely hero, 4 home runs. Clutch hits nobody saw coming from a man nobody was watching. Tenace went to bed a role player and woke up a household name, which is about as good a definition of October baseball as I can give you. Shohei Ohtani, Dodgers 2025, the two-way marvel, a once-in-a-century talent doing once-in-a-century things on sports' biggest stage. Dominant on the mound, terrifying at the plate. We are watching baseball history rewrite its own rulebook in real time, and I, for one, am taking notes. Albert Pujols, 2011, Game 3, the 3-homer barrage. 3 home runs in 1 World Series game. It ties him with Reggie Jackson and Babe Ruth. That's it. That's the sentence. When your name gets mentioned in the same breath as those two, you don't need me to embellish it. Bob Gibson, 1968, 17 strikeouts of pure fire. Gibson didn't pitch that game as much as he attacked it. 17 strikeouts remains the gold standard of World Series dominance. And honestly, I think the ball was afraid of him too. Babe Ruth, 1932, the called shot. Did he point to the bleachers or didn't he? Historians have been arguing about it for nearly a century, and I'll let you in on a secret. It doesn't matter. The legend is more powerful than the truth at this point. Funny thing, my own father was born that very month Ruth hit that home run, October of 1932. So in my house, that swing was never just history. It was practically family. All right, deep breath. Here's where the arguing really starts. These are the 10 performances that, in my opinion, didn't just help a team win, they carried a team to the trophy. Take away any one of these men, and I believe their franchise goes home empty-handed. These are the giants among giants. My top 10 greatest individual World Series performances. Number 10, Babe Ruth, 1918. The pitcher, not the Sultan of SWAT. Here's a fact that stops most casual fans cold. Babe Ruth was, before he was baseball's greatest hitter, arguably its best left-handed pitcher. In 1918, he throws a complete game shutout in Game 1 and allows exactly 1 earned run across the entire series. Try to picture that today. The greatest slugger who ever lived standing on the mound instead of in the batter's box, making it look easy. Now, I wasn't there, despite what some of you seem to believe about my actual age, but the record books don't lie, and neither apparently did the Babe's left arm. Number 9, Reggie Jackson, 1977. Mr. October's 3 swings, 3 pitches, 3 home runs. Reggie just didn't win Game 6. He slammed the door on the entire series with a flourish, like a magician who didn't need a curtain because he wanted you to watch every second of the trick. It remains the single most explosive hitting performance in World Series history, and the nickname Mr. October was never once in doubt again. Number 8, Kirk Gibson, 1988. The homer that changed everything. Gibson could barely walk. I mean that literally. The man who looked like he'd been in a car accident, not a ball game. I was watching that night with my wife Patty, and I remember turning to her and saying, with total confidence, "He's going to strike out." Patty looked at the screen and said, "No, he's got to hit a home run." Well, she was right. She never let me forget that I was wrong. I just wish she could predict lottery numbers with that kind of accuracy. Number 7, Sandy Koufax, 1965 World Series against the Minnesota Twins, the left arm of God. In Game 7, on 2 days rest, a 3-hit shutout with 10 strikeouts. Koufax never had to raise his voice on a baseball field. He let a fastball that seemed to defy physics do all his talking for him. Number 6. Jack Morris, 1991. 10 innings of immortality. Game 7. 10 innings. 0 runs allowed. His manager basically had to peel Morris off the mound with a crowbar. It stands to this day as the greatest single pitching duel in World Series history, and Morris is the man left standing at the top of it. Number 5. Brooks Robinson, 1970. The human vacuum cleaner. Robinson didn't play third base so much as he redefined what the position was allowed to be. Diving stops that shouldn't have been possible. Throws that seemed to arrive before the ball left his glove. Clutch hits on top of it all. Cincinnati still, to this day, has nightmares shaped like a vacuum cleaner in an Orioles uniform. Number 4. Roberto Clemente, 1971, and the World Series that showcased his skills. A .414 batting average, a home run in Game 7, and a way of carrying himself on the field and off of it that turned Clemente into something bigger than a ball player. Grace, power, the best arm in the game, leadership, all in one uniform. If you ever want to explain to someone what baseball should look like, you show them the 1971 World Series of Roberto Clemente. Number 3. Mickey Lolich, 1968. 3 complete games, 3 wins, against the Cardinals team that had Bob Gibson on it. The same Bob Gibson who had struck out 17 batters a few paragraphs ago. Lolich didn't pitch like a man with a scouting report. He pitched like a man who had personally decided the series was his and dared anyone to argue. Number 2. Don Larsen, 1956. The perfect game. 27 batters up, 27 batters down. The only perfect game in World Series history. And given how baseball has evolved, it may be the one record on this entire list that never gets touched again. It isn't just rare, it borders on mythical. And number 1, Christy Mathewson, 1905. 3 complete game shutouts in 6 days against a Philadelphia A's lineup that was the best in the American League. Mathewson didn't just dominate the series, he wrote it in ink that has never faded. The single greatest pitching performance in the history of this game. The man wasn't a pitcher that October. He was a machine somebody forgot to build with an off switch. Now, before we get to my top 10 World Series games ever, I want to widen the lens for just a moment. Some events in World Series history aren't about one player. They're about an entire series, an entire city, an entire era tilting on its axis. 1929, Game 4, the A's 10-run miracle, down 8-0. The Athletics scored 10 runs in a single inning. The Cubs were stunned into silence, one of the greatest comebacks in the sport's history. 1968, Tigers versus Cardinals, the impossible comeback. Detroit down 3-1, staring down Bob Gibson again in Game 7 of the World Series. Somehow, the Tigers found a way to win the series. 2004, Boston Red Sox ending the curse. 86 years without a World Series championship. 86. Let that number sit with you. 86 years of heartbreak, superstition, and a GOAT that apparently had it out for an entire city. Boston finally exorcised it, and baseball hasn't been quite the same since. 1924, Washington Senators versus the New York Giants. This was Walter Johnson's redemption. The big train, one of the most dominant pitchers to ever tow a rubber, finally got his championship. Washington celebrated like the city had been holding its breath for a decade. 2011, Cardinals versus Rangers, Game 6, the miracle game I've already talked about. David Freese, but I want you to sit with this detail again. Twice down to their last strike. Twice. And twice they refused the ending odds makers had already written for them. 1926, Cardinals versus Yankees, the great upset. St. Louis against Murderers Row. Arguably the most fearsome lineup ever assembled, and St. Louis wins the series. One of the greatest upsets the sport has ever produced. 1993, Game 4, Toronto versus Philadelphia. The highest scoring World Series game ever played, 15-14. A slugfest so wild, it felt less like a ball game and more like both teams had simply given up on pitching and decided to just swing until someone won. The 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers and New York Yankees. After decades of wait till next year, Brooklyn finally beats the Yankees. Johnny Padres becomes an instant legend, and an entire borough finally gets to exhale. And now, the reason you're still listening, the reason you didn't skip ahead. The 10 greatest World Series games ever played. The ones that made my heart race, my palms sweat, and my mind remember exactly why this game matters to me. My top 10 greatest World Series games ever played. Number 10, 1997, Marlins versus Indians. Game 7. As a lifelong Cleveland fan, I'll be honest with you, this one still hurts all these years later. Jose Mesa was 1 out away from a championship. 1 out. I was sweating right along with him through the television screen. Florida ties it. Then Florida wins it in extra innings. Heartbreak for Cleveland, history for a franchise that didn't even exist 5 years earlier. Number 9, 1988, Dodgers versus A's, Game 1. The Kirk Gibson game, hobbling to the plate. He was struggling to even foul off pitches. Then suddenly we see the fist pump in the air, the disbelief rippling through the stadium in real time. It was not Hollywood magic, it was a Hollywood script.
And look who's coming up. High fly ball into right field. She is gone.
Number 8, 2001, Diamondbacks versus Yankees, Game 7. Luis Gonzalez, bloop single. Not a rocket, not a moonshot, just a soft little bloop over a drawn-in infield. Ends the Yankees' dynasty and hands Arizona its first championship. Proof that baseball doesn't care how dramatic your ending looks. It just cares whether the ball lands where nobody's standing. As wee Willie Keeler said, hit it where they ain't.
Once in a lifetime for Luis Gonzalez. 2-2, bottom of the ninth. Game 7 of the World Series. Bases loaded. Center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
Number 7, 1993, Blue Jays versus Phillies, Game 6. A wild, high-scoring slugfest that ends with Joe Carter's walk-off. Chaos from start to finish, and pure joy at the end of it.
Touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Number 6, 1960, Pirates versus Yankees, Game 7. The Yankees dominated the numbers in that series, outscored Pittsburgh by an almost embarrassing margin across the 7 games, and the Pirates won anyway. Back and forth, dramatic, unforgettable, and it ends with Mazeroski's walk-off home run. Mickey Mantle cried after that game, the only time in his career he ever did. That tells you something about how much this one hurt to lose and how much it meant to win.
Here's a swing and a high fly ball going deep left. This may do it. Back to the wall goes Berra. It is over the fence, home run,
champions to beat the New York Yankees, the Pirates 10 and the Yankees 9.
Number 5, 1991, Twins versus Braves, Game 7. Jack Morris versus John Smoltz. 10 innings of tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. The greatest pitching duel in World Series history, and Morris simply refused to come off that mound. A masterpiece, start to finish.
The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it. It's a base hit. It's a 1-0.
Number 4, 1975, Red Sox versus Reds, Game 6. Plenty of people will tell you this is the greatest World Series game ever played. Carlton Fisk waving that ball fair with his whole body like he could push it through sheer force of will. This game had everything: drama, iconic imagery, a moment replayed for over 50 years. However, it wasn't a Game 7. The Reds won the series the very next night, so on my list, it lands at number 4. I did say you might argue with me. Number 3, 2025, Dodgers versus Blue Jays, Game 7. Toronto was a mere foot away from scoring the winning run. A defensive gem, the kind you replay in your head for the rest of your life, saves the Dodgers. A modern classic, and proof that this sport is still capable of writing brand new chapters even after 120 years of trying. Number 2, 1986, Red Sox versus the Mets, Game 6. Boston was 1 out away. 1. The scoreboard operator at Shea Stadium had already flashed a congratulatory message for the Red Sox. And then, the collapse. Every batter on the Mets team was determined not to be the one who made the last out. Then, suddenly, a ball rolls through Bill Buckner's legs, and one of the most shocking endings in the history of American sports unfolds in front of a stunned nation.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
And we come to number 1. (2016) Cleveland Indians versus Chicago Cubs, Game 7. The greatest World Series game ever played. This is my number 1, and I'll tell you right now, it's personal. Cleveland, my team. The team I rooted for my entire life. First as a 10-year-old kid, and now as an adult. The franchise that had not won a championship since 1948 versus the Chicago Cubs, my wife Patty's team. The organization that had not won a championship since 1908. 2 franchises carrying decades of heartbreak into the same ball game at the same time. The game has the excitement that only a Game 7 in a World Series can offer. I remember taking my son Keith with me and Patty to Game 6 earlier that week. We couldn't get tickets into the stadium, but we felt the tension and electricity of the World Series that night. And now, Game 7. It goes to extra innings. Then, a rain delay that felt like the baseball gods needed a moment to compose themselves before the ending. Drama so thick it felt like it had been scripted. And honestly, no screenwriter would have dared write an ending this good, because nobody would have believed it. Patty and I stayed up well past midnight. We both had to work early the next morning. So we finally went to bed, and then minutes later we said we can't miss this game, and we got back up because some things are simply more important than sleep, and history was one of them. When the Cubs won, I was in mourning. the way Cleveland fans have learned to do with a certain practiced dignity. But Patty danced in our living room at 1 a.m. like she had stepped on hot coals. She celebrated with no remorse or thoughts for my feelings. It was heartbreak and joy occupying the same exact room at the same exact moment. And if you want one image that captures everything baseball is capable of doing to the human heart, that's the one I'd hand you.
It's over, and the Cubs have finally won it all. 8-7 and 10.
41 Game 7s have been played in the history of the World Series. This was the greatest, in my humble opinion. Baseball is memory. It's fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, friends who've stopped speaking about everything else in their lives except this. It's Patty and me on the couch at 1 a.m, watching a game when we both should have gone to bed hours before. These games, these players, these stories, they aren't just history sitting in a book somewhere. They're part of who I am, part of who we are. All of us who ever listened to a transistor radio under the covers or who watched their wives dance for joy at 1 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for letting me take you out to the ball game. I hope this journey through World Series history brought a few memories back to you too, and gave you at least one thing to argue with me about. My name is Brian Smith, and we are history.